Hey, this is Brian Bowden from Inside the Goblin Universe and Nobo Booby, which stands for Nobody But Me, and you're listening to Cat Ward and Paranormal Heart.
Welcome to Paranormal Heart, a place where people can talk about their paranormal experiences. With your host, Cat Ward.
Welcome back, folks, to Paranormal Heart. I'm your host, Cat Ward. You can find new episodes on the second and last Sunday of each month on Podbean, YouTube, and now on Fringe Radio Network, and as usual, any place you find fine podcasts. If you've had paranormal encounters you'd like to share, you can either be a guest on the show, or you can submit them in writing, and I'll be happy to narrate your story. And if you'd like to have your very own free Paranormal Heart podcast car sticker, just drop me an email at paranormalheart13@gmail.com, and I'll be happy to mail one to you. Folks, I'd like to give a shout out to some friends of mine, Andrea, Jen, Angie, Lorianne, and Carla of Unearthing Shadows Paranormal and Peradventure Entertainment. Andrea and her team have been so supportive of the show, and I just want to thank them all. If you want to check them out, you can find them on Instagram or head on over to their website. I'll add the links in the show notes so it's easier for you to find. And we may be doing a little bit of a new segment on the show with these ladies as well, so stay tuned for that. In episode 67, my guest is no stranger to the show. He's been on once or twice, and here to discuss his psychic awakening and various fascinating paranormal encounters that include communication with family members through a method called tipping table, UFOs, and Bigfoot. I give you founder of Bronxville Paranormal Society and director of New York State UFO Project and the New York State Dogman Project, the ever-busy Al Santariga. Hey Al, welcome back to Paranormal Heart.
Hi Kat, it's been a long time.
That it has. I didn't think it was that long, but when you messaged me last night, it's like, oh my, it has been a while.
Oh yeah, it's been a long time. Absolutely.
Yeah, we've talked about having you back on, and so I'm happy that you messaged me, and here you are again. Thank you.
Well, you know what it was too. I took a year off.
Yeah.
So, and then from the last time I did it to now, it's probably been at least another year. So it's been 2 years in the making. So
wow.
You know.
It has been a while. Holy Hannah.
Yeah, it's been like 2 years. Yeah.
Yeah. So I understand you've been up to no good. No.
Doing a lot of research. I hate to use the word researcher because I'm really not a researcher. I'm more an investigator and an experiencer. But I've been doing a lot of research, and you know, I had this happen to me. I call it an awakening, but everybody I know that's into the metaphysical calls it an ascension. So let me start with this experience.
Please do.
I'm sleeping in my bed. It's last January or February. We got 18 inches of snow outside. Sleeping in my bed, and I think, at least I believe at the time, that I was dreaming. And something takes me out of my bed, right? And it's guiding me up towards the heavens. Now we're on this rainbow bridge, for lack of a better definition. The colors of this bridge were just so pure, so rich. I mean, so deep. You can't even explain how rich and beautiful these colors were, right? So I don't know what's guiding me. Whatever it is, it's behind me and it's pushing me up, and we're going up towards the stars in the heavens. And I hear this voice in my head tell me, tonight I'm going to tell you the secret to life and the secret to the universe. They're one and the same. So I'm like, okay, right? I don't know what's going on. And as we're going up and up, I'm seeing mathematical equations going by me that I have no idea what they were, just mathematical equations. I'm seeing all kinds of music notes going by me. And then all of a sudden I start seeing people like Tesla and Bach and Einstein, Beethoven. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? Where the hell am I going? And we keep going out like to deep space, and we're going out. So at some point, as we're passing all of this information and all of these geniuses from the 20th century, I say, okay, what's the secret to the universe? What's the secret to life? And he says there's three things they told me. The first thing is vibration. All right? I said, okay. And then we start to descend. We're coming down now, and I can see the earth below me. We're coming down, we're gliding down, and we're getting closer to the earth. And I'm saying, okay, what's number two?
Yeah.
And it says the second thing is frequency and vibration. Okay. And I'm like, okay. And now I can see my house, and like I'm going back around. I'm thinking, oh man, I'm gonna wake up in my bed and I'm not gonna know the third thing. I'm freaking out, right? And I'm like, dude, you gotta tell me what the third thing. And he says the last thing is consciousness. Frequency, vibration, and consciousness. Said all the knowledge, this is what this voice is telling me, all the knowledge that's ever was, ever has been, is in the universe for us to tap into. That's what this voice is telling me. And I'm like, okay. And I guess the reason why he showed me all of these geniuses, because they all said it came from a higher consciousness. They all said it wasn't me who wrote it. It was, I tapped into something, but he gave me this, Fifth Symphony or whatever, or the equation to whatever Einstein had, relativity. So, all right. So as I'm going down now, I'm going back into my bed, and I say, man, this is the craziest. I'm talking to this entity behind me that I can't see. And I say, man, this is the craziest dream I ever had. And he stops me. And we stop in midair. And he says, this is not a dream. He said, when the snow melts, you'll see the signs. And I said, okay. So now I wake up the next morning and I go, man, that was wild. I got to call Brian. I got to tell him this is crazy. So Brian says, oh, when the snow melts, let me know what you find, right? I call Brian, I tell him about it. And 3-4 weeks go by and snow starts to smelt. And they said that I will see the sign in my yard. Now I got 2 yards. I got an immediate backyard, then I got a further backyard that's all woods. So I'm walking around the yard looking for a sign. I don't know what I'm looking for, right? And so I go into the far backyard, the woods. And there around the tree, and I'm not even sure what kind of tree it is. I don't know if it's a maple tree or an oak tree or whatever it is, are quartz crystal stones set up in a circle around the tree.
Wow.
I don't know where these stones came from. They're all the size of bowling balls. Mm-hmm. I don't know where. I tried to send you a picture of them. I couldn't find it. I know I took pictures of it. When I find them, I'll send it to you again. Please, yeah. Because I know I got them somewhere. They may be on my little Sony camera. Mm-hmm. But so I see these quartz crystal stones set up in a circle around this tree. I don't have any quartz crystal stones in my yard. My neighbors don't have them on either side of me. I don't know where they come from. I've been in the woods behind my house. We have 100 acres with my son as a kid, hunting with the BB guns and stuff. I've never seen any quartz crystal stones. I don't know where they came from. So as I'm standing there looking at it, something like a voice in my head says, touch the stone. So I touch the stone, and the stone, I can feel like energy coming out of the stone. And then the voice says, now touch the tree. So I touch the stone and I touch the tree, and I could feel the energy go through my arm, out the other arm, into the tree. And the tree felt like it was vibrating, or like, I don't want to say it had a heartbeat, but it was vibrating. So I call our favorite alien, Tramp, and I say, what the hell? What am I supposed to do with this circle? And he says, it's a meditation circle. He says, you sit on the stones, you lean against the tree, and you make sure your feet are grounded to Mother Earth while you're on the stone and your back is against the tree, and all three are connected. He says, and then you can meditate. And he says, whenever you want to tap into the knowledge, secret knowledge of the universe, this is where you got to go. And he goes, dude, I don't know what happened. He says, but he goes, you are totally different now. He goes, you've just had an ascension. And he goes, now when you go out on investigations, before you go, it's not enough to just protect yourself like you've always done. He says, now you have to ground yourself first. He says, because your aura is like a spotlight. He says, it's blinding.
Yep.
And I was like, wow, okay. So I was like, well, teach me how to ground myself, because I'm not a psychic by any stretch of the imagination. I need to know,
Mm-hmm.
So he told me his thing and how to do it. And Brian mentioned something to me, and then I called my team psychic and she mentioned something to me. So, I got like 3 different versions of how to ground myself now. So I'm okay, but, that was the craziest thing ever. I mean, never, not in a million years have I ever expected for anything like that to happen. And if those stones weren't set up around that tree, I would have just thought it was a dream,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was just a crazy experience.
When you were told to ground your feet to the ground, does it have to be barefoot?
Doesn't have to be barefoot, but it says it's better if it is. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
But,
amazing.
Isn't that crazy? I mean, I was never, I'll be brutally honest, I was never a higher consciousness person, When
Mm-hmm.
people used to talk to me about higher consciousness and frequency vibration, I used to say, okay, I'm open to it because I want to keep my mind open to all kinds of things, but it wasn't who I was. And now it is. It's like crazy how I've had this, now I'm thinking all those years that I called all those people crazy, they were just ahead of me on their ascension, you know what I mean?
I'm sure some of them still are, but Brian, no.
No, but I mean, that was just, I guess it's like Arizona said, he said, this is a life-changing experience. He goes, you're not who you used to be anymore. He said, because there are far and few between people who are giving this sight, are giving this knowledge. And he goes, you have like a direct hotline to the knowledge of the universe now. You can tap into whenever you want. And I was like, wow, this is crazy. I've never done it because all my years of doing martial arts,
Mm-hmm.
and I've done it my whole life, and we used to meditate in the dojo, I could never calm my mind down. My mind was always racing 100 miles an hour.
That's
So
me now, yeah.
I was never able to focus and just meditate. But according to everybody now, I should have no problem anymore. But and it's funny because I met a woman who told me out of the clear blue sky, she says to me, she doesn't know me from a hole in the wall, right?
Mm-hmm.
She comes up to me and she says, you're a Bigfoot hunter or something like that. And I was like, well, I don't really hunt Bigfoot, but I do research, them. And she goes, they talk to you. She goes, I want to let you know they talk to you. And I go, what do you mean they talk to me? She goes, telepathically. She goes, but you're only hearing them in waves, she said, because your mind is too busy.
Yep.
She says, but your mind is more calmer now. And she says, now when you go out, reach, she said to me, you should do meditation to contact them. You'll hear them loud and clear. She said, but you've heard them before. She goes, because you've been drawn to locations or this, that, and the other thing. She goes, that's them talking to you, telling you to come back. She goes, but you only heard them and like this woman was blowing my mind because, I just bumped into her at an event and she grabbed me out of the clear blue sky and she starts telling me all this stuff, and she doesn't know me from a hole in the wall. And I was like, because, I get pulled to locations all the time. I feel like I'm being drawn here or pulled there. And she says it's their way of communicating. She goes, and you hear them, but you hear them in waves. She goes, but now your mind is much more relaxed. She goes, next time you go out, sit down and meditate. And she goes, they'll talk to you now because you had an ascension. She had no idea I had an ascension.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess she just seen my aura. You know what I mean? she's like, you know, your aura is blinding, she said, and you've had an ascension. And I was like, how do you know? You know, and she's like, because I can see your aura, and your aura is blinding. And I was like, holy crap, it really did happen. You know what I mean? I'm still doubting it, you know, but it's just like crazy, But so that was you know, that was just something I wanted to discuss because it's such a crazy experience. You know, I still don't believe it was true, you know. But if you want to talk about like the photographs I sent you,
sure.
You know,
you
want to start off with Gettysburg?
Sure. This is a place that I'd like to go sometime. Sorry, if you can hear the noise in the background, I have one of my cats on the wrong side of the door, so it sounds like he's just trying to claw his way through the door. He's not usually at the door when I'm doing this, but
I got a cat that hates doors being closed.
Yeah.
Every time he sees a door closed, he's got to go over and pull on it for 3 hours or stand in front of it and cry. And then once you open it, he'll come in and then walk right back out. But if you close that door behind him, he'll start all over again. It's just a pain in the ass.
It's funny about so my last guest was Uncle Brian, Sir Brian Bowden, and him and I were saying how sensitive you are, like you've got the psychic abilities, and we both said that he doesn't believe he does, and it's like no he totally does. So this is really, I'm kind of envious.
I'll tell you, it was mind-boggling. And you know what, everyone I spoke to, like Arizona and my team psychic and Brian, all said absolutely, you know, you had I call it an awakening, they call it an ascension. Okay. I don't know the right terminology in the metaphysical world, but and then for that woman to come up to me out of the clear blue sky and say, oh my God, your aura is like blinding, who are you? And Sasquatch talks to you. I was like, what? Wait, who are you? And where are you from? You know, like all of a sudden, just like boom. She must have been some kind of psychic, because she was just boom, 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 boom. It was like talking to Katie. You know, she was scary. You know, like last time I talked to Katie on the phone, I had her read a location, and then she started reading me, and I couldn't get off the phone fast enough because I didn't want her to get to my dark side. You know, I was like, okay, I gotta go.
Katie also has a very bright aura. Holy cow!
Yeah, I mean, but this woman was like, it was like talking to her. It was just scary. She was just like boom, 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 like one thing after. Just freaked me out. You know, it's like even though I've been doing this for how many years, you know, forever, when people do stuff like that to you, it's mind-boggling, and you can't believe how well in tune they are with, you know, the universe, that they can just read you like that and just spit stuff out, things they have no idea that you do or who you are, and they just boom, 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 right down the list. You know, it's just crazy. But this summer we took my wife and I, we went to Gettysburg for a vacation for a couple of days, and I sent you a bunch of photographs. Yep. And we were at the cemetery, no, at the battlefield one night, and we were taking photographs. I have a camera that shoots in infrared and full spectrum, okay? And I had a camera that shot in thermal, and I had a camera that shot in just regular vision, you know? And every time I took a picture in all 4 spectrums of light, because I wanted to see what came up and what didn't come up. And so we were at the battlefield, and I was taking pictures, and in one photograph, I think it was in the night vision, infrared, in the infrared spectrum, there's a soldier standing just outside the tree line looking our way. It looks like he's looking our way. And it looks like he's got like something across his chest. I don't know if it's a canteen or bullets or whatever. And it just looks like either he was a sentry or a guard on duty or whatever, but he's just standing there 1 minute. And all the other photographs that I took he's not in any of them, but in the infrared, he's there. And then I took another photo, and then we went to another location, and I was taking photograph of like rolling hills and you know, and I think it was, I want to say it was in full spectrum. It was it came out, or it was in full spectrum or thermal. I don't remember, one of the two. I don't remember what picture I sent you.
Is this the one? Can you see it?
I can't see it, but that looks like, is that in green?
Oh, it's in blue.
Okay, that's the one.
And then there's
and
then there's a green one next to it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was the one in blue. So that
Okay.
one was done. That one was shot in full spectrum,
Mhm.
and that looks like somebody running across the battlefield.
It
I
does.
don't
Yeah.
know if it's somebody like a messenger relaying a message, or somebody charging or what. But I that was the one I caught. So that was pretty cool. Two different parts of the battle. The battlefield at Gettysburg is humongous, and if you drive through it, it will take you like 5 hours.
Oh,
That's how
wow.
big it is.
I didn't realize it was that big.
It's insane, and there's monuments of so many different monuments from so many different people, so many different states, and the monuments are just drop dead gorgeous. And I mean, it's just insane. The battlefield is insane. It took us like 5 hours to drive through it, you know. And so then we were doing the tours, and one of the locations was called the Jenny Wade House. Okay, now Jenny Wade was the only civilian ever shot during the Battle of Gettysburg. Okay.
I'm just looking through the pictures that you sent me now.
Yeah, and that one is the picture of the door with the bullet holes through it.
Okay, yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Yeah.
And right next to it, there should be one in full spectrum that
Yep.
looks like almost like a kitchen area or something.
Yep.
Okay, I was standing there, and I was taking pictures of the door with the bullet holes through it. Now, this particular house wasn't actually Jenny's house. It was her cousin's house. Her house was in the middle of the battlefield, so she moved out to the outskirts of town to get away from that, because her cousin had just had a baby like 2 days before, right? So she was there helping her cousin take it. She was on her knees in that kitchen rolling dough when the bullets came through that door and hit her and killed her.
Wow.
She was the only innocent civilian killed in that battle. Now, I'm standing by that area where you roll the dough. There's a little thing there that looks almost like something you may put a child in. It looks like a playpen or something.
Yeah.
But that's actually something that rolled. It was a bread box, and they rolled the dough on top of it. Okay. I'm standing there taking a picture of the door before the woman is giving us the history of the house. I'm just in there, and I feel somebody down low, like around my hip, pulling on my shirt, not knowing that Jenny was on her knees rolling dough when she got shot. So when I felt that, I turned around again. I'm taking pictures in all 4 different spectrums of light. So every picture I took a while, because I went from one camera to the next, you know what I mean? And I felt someone tugging on my shirt. So I turned around and I took pictures of that area. But there was nobody there. And then the woman tells us that, yeah, Jenny was on her knees rolling dough when she got shot. Because at first, when I felt my shirt being pulled that low, I thought it was a child.
Yeah.
But she said the only child in the house was a newborn infant. But Jenny, when she was shot, was on her knees rolling dough.
And I'm looking at the picture of the door with the bullet holes. Looking at the picture here with the bullet holes, and there's 2 up on top and then 1 lower. So yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And there's actually there's a door. There's a room that goes off that room, and there's another door that was open that opens out into that kitchen area. So the bullets went through not only the first door but the second door and hit her, and she was down on her knees. What are the odds of being that low to the ground and still getting hit through two solid wood doors? You know. Yeah,
if she would have been standing, I don't think the top bullets would have gotten her, but the other one probably, it might not have been a fatal shot if she was standing.
Shot her in the leg or something.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, it's just crazy. And then, that was the one story. Then we went to another location, which was called the orphanage. Okay. And in the beginning, when the orphanage was made, the woman who ran it was a very sweet woman, very good woman. She had some doctor from Philadelphia who would get the money for the orphanage. Like he would have all kinds of events in Philadelphia, and then they would send the money to the orphanage so that they could run the orphanage. Well, that woman ended up getting married and leaving, and this other woman came in who was absolutely no good. Absolutely no good. She tortured the kids.
Oh.
She beat the kids. She starved the kids. There's a little room down in the basement that looks like a prison cell that has like chains on the wall where she used to chain the kids up to. She would have the older kids beat up the younger kids, some of them to the point where they were killed, and they would bury them in the yard, like in the backyard. And so I'm down in the basement, and we're hearing those, and then we go into this little room that you got to squeeze into. You know, like the doorway is really tiny. You know, it's meant for children, not for full-grown adults. And I'm taking pictures, and as I was leaving, and I'm always the last guy to leave because I always want to get pictures behind me when there's nobody else in the room. You know, I always wait for the tour to leave, and then I take my picture. I mean, I took pictures during the tour as well, but I also took pictures at the end when everybody would shuffle out into the next room. I told my wife, "Don't worry, I'll be there in 2 minutes." I would take pictures of all the rooms that were empty, and upstairs in the dining area, I got 2 shadow figures on the wall. One looks like an old lady with a bun in her hair facing me, and one looks like an older child behind her, like a male child. It looks like a male to me. I mean, but it's a shadow figure. And I caught that, and there was nobody else in the room. But man, I think that one was in IR as well. I think that's in the green screen. Yeah, so that was in IR as well.
Yeah, I'm looking at it.
Then you're looking at it, right?
Yeah.
And then we went downstairs into the basement where they used to chain the kids up, and it was funny. I was drawn to the back wall of the basement. Now the basement's just a rock wall. You know what I mean? And I was drawn to the basement, and I touched the wall. And the woman giving the tour says to me, you know, because she could see I had all my medals on and my stones and everything.
Yeah.
So she knew I came. I was good. I was well protected, right? And I said, and she made a comment about all those different stones I wore as well, you know. And so I went to the back wall, and I felt the back wall, you know. And you couldn't tell that there was ever anything on this wall because it just looks like different stones. And I touched the back wall, and I felt the back wall, and I got like this really, really sad feeling, you know? And I looked at her, and I said, "What's the deal with this wall?" You know, and like there's 30 people around me, and like everybody's looking at me. And of course, my wife is like, "Oh my God," you know? And
crazy guy here.
I touched the back wall, and I said, "What's the deal with this wall?" And she says, "Right where you're touching the wall used to be metal bracelets in the wall where they used to strap the kids into the wall, and she used to chain the kids to the wall, but they took them out because they felt it was a little too much for the small children that came on the tour to see those things there.
Yeah.
So they took them out. But something drew me right to that spot, and I touched it, and I felt like I got this really sad feeling. And she explained to me she would chain the kids to this wall. She would starve them to death, you know, just leave them there, like, and forget about them, you know. But when I went into that little room where they chained the kids up at, and she was telling us, you know, because you could only go in that room like one person at a time. So as I was leaving, I turned around to get a picture of the room, of the hallway leading to that room. And in the hallway, I think it's maybe in thermal because it's white. I think it's a white photograph.
Yep, I'm looking at that one too.
You could see a shadow figure of like a ghost there.
Yep.
You know, and it looks like I don't know, a male figure to me. I can't tell, but it was like a shadow figure right there. But I couldn't see it with my naked eye, and it didn't come out in any other spectrum of light that I was using. You know, and so I seen this ghostly figure. So I was like, okay, I caught something here. You know, because I didn't tell anybody, because I didn't look at any of the photographs while we were doing the tour because I'm taking pictures with so many different cameras. I'm falling behind, so I got to keep up with everybody. And then we went to this place in the middle of town. It was called Mrs. G's or something like that. It was an ice cream parlor, right? and up on the second floor is a balcony. It used to be a house, okay, somebody's house or an inn or something. And I took pictures of it again in all 4 spectrums of light that I was using, and I sent you 2 pictures: a regular picture, and then one in IR. And you can see the one in IR, if you blow it up a little bit, it looks like, to me, a little girl with pigtails on the balcony.
It does. Yeah, I'm looking
Doesn't
at
it?
it. Yep. That's wild.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah, and that's why I sent you both pictures, so you could see the difference in regular light and then in the IR light, you know. And so that was that. Then we went to a place that was in Waynesboro, Pennsylvania, maybe 10, 15 minutes away. A friend of ours owns an inn. It's a haunted inn. Okay, and I sent you pictures of that place too. It's called the 1912 Hoover House. Okay, and it's a haunted inn. And I want to give a couple of shout outs to Jim and Dave and Steve and Pam. Those are the owners. And Bob and Carol are Jim's sister and brother-in-law. They brought the table. They have 3 tables at this house. 1 tips when you ask your questions. 1 dances around the room, and 1 actually elevates off the ground, right? So Carol and Bob brought the one that tips, because the spirit that's in it, God, I forgot the name of the spirit, but it's a woman. She only allows family members to come through, and she only allows good family members that you have good rapport with, not anybody that you had beef with during your life. You know what I mean? So we got there, and we get the best room in the house because there's nobody there but us. So I got the run of the house. I'm taking pictures of every room down in the basement. It used to be a speakeasy down in the basement. I'm taking pictures, and we got pictures. And I sent you a bunch of pictures. They got like haunted dolls all over the house, and I mean the place is absolutely drop dead gorgeous. Absolutely
it looks gorgeous. That fireplace mantle, good grief.
Oh my God, the whole place is amazing. It's just beautiful, beautiful. The room we stayed in, apparently, there's used to be a nursing home at one point. Okay, it was a restaurant, a nursing home, and at one point, the room that we were in, apparently someone gets in bed with you. Okay, at night.
Yeah.
So. My wife went to bed one night. We went to bed like the first night we got there. My wife went to bed, and she went to bed earlier than me. I stayed up and doing my ghost stuff, and we went to bed. She was in bed sleeping. So I get into bed a couple hours after her, and I'm pretty all amped up from the night activities, you know, and hanging out with these people and meeting them and talking to them. And Jim is a very psychic person, you know. He's got a very good abilities, and I get in bed, and I'm laying in bed, and I can't sleep, and I feel like somebody gets in between me and my wife. But I'm thinking, you know, it's just my wife rolling over or something, right? So I don't pay any attention to it. And then it moves again. And then it moves again. So I get up, and I'm looking at my wife, and I'm looking at her just to see if she's, you know, flip-flopping all over the place, because she doesn't usually, I'm the flip-flopper. She usually sleeps like a rock. So I'm looking at her. She's not moving, not an inch. She's not moving. So I lay back down, and I feel it again. So I turn to who's ever in front of us, in between us, and I say, hey, listen, if you don't stay still, you got to go sleep on the pull-out couch, because I'm trying to sleep here, okay? Yeah. And as soon as I said that, no more movement for the rest of the night.
Oh wow!
It was hysterical. Like they just stopped because they didn't want to sleep on the pull-out couch. They wanted to sleep on the king-size bed. You know,
it would have been funny if the pull-out couch all of a sudden started
opening. Oh my God, that would have been great if the pillows came off the couch. You know, that would have been great. But it was amazing. Like I've never experienced anybody sitting down next to me on a bed. You know, people say, "Oh, the bed went down," or it looks like there's somebody laying next to you. I've never experienced that, you know. So to experience that movement, like somebody actually laying down next to you, and I felt, you know, next to me, I didn't feel that it was any colder than where I was sleeping or any hotter, but you could just feel somebody moving back and forth, back and forth. The following night, we had what they called table tipping night. Okay, now, and what we did was, In one of the living rooms, you'll see like a couch with a big rug on it. It had 2 living rooms. One was a sitting room. One was like a TV room. Okay, the one without the TV, it had a big It has a big rug in the middle of the floor, like an area rug. Okay, we moved that couch out into the hallway, and we rolled up that rug and we put it out in the hallway. So we had this giant area, and we put this table down in front of us. And me and my wife and Jim and Bob and Carol all sat around the table, and we put our hands on the table. Now, when they brought this table in, they carried it like a pizza box, right? And the first thing my wife did was look underneath to see if there was anything underneath it, right? There's nothing underneath this table. And we sit there and we put our hands on it. And Jim says the way we ask questions is we ask questions in our heads. And the spirit of the table can hear those, and they'll answer you, okay? So nobody else around us can hear when we ask a question, except the spirit of the table. So if when the table answers you, it tips one way or the other. So we all sit there, and they said, okay, Al, Jim says, Jim turns to me and says, oh my God. First, the table's going like this, right? Like it's good. And Jim says, I go, what does that mean? He says, that means 2 people are trying to come through at once. And he says, Al, you got a line of family members out the door that want to talk to you. So I'm like, okay, So the table finally settles down, and he said, okay, now pick a family member in your head and talk to them. So my cousin Billy comes through, right? And so I'm testing everybody that comes through, right? So Billy, when we were a kid, he had this 69 Chevy Impala, right?
Nice.
And the doors wouldn't even open up. We had to jump in and out of it like the Dukes of Hazzard, right? And we called it the Incredible Chevy because we did things with that car that no other car could have done, right? And so I get down and I go, hey, in my head I said, Bill, is this you? And the table tips. Okay, nobody knows when I'm asking questions, so they can't tip the table. You know what I mean? And I say, okay, remember
is it tipping towards you or just anywhere?
No, it tips towards you.
Yep.
It tips towards you. So then I said, do you remember the Incredible Chevy? And the table tips towards me. And I said, man, that cherry red was the most beautifulest color ever. The table didn't tip. Well, the Chevy wasn't incredible. That wasn't red; it was black, right? And then I go, "Oh, that's right. The Incredible Chevy was black." And then it tips, right? So I said, "Okay, are you in a better place?" And he said, "Yeah, this, that, and the other thing." And then the table came up to me, like it just slid up to me. And Jim says, "That's the way of the table giving you a hug." And then the table slid back, and then Jim says, "Okay, he's gone. Someone else is coming through." He could feel a different energy come through the table, and he says, okay, so then now it's my cousin Anthony, right? And I'm like, hey, is this Anthony? And the table tips. And I said, okay. And again, I'm asking him all kinds of questions, and I'm checking, it's funny because my cousin Anthony had a dark side, okay? And I said, are you with Billy? And it tipped. And I said, is that a good thing? Because I wasn't sure if Billy those guys were in a good place or not, and it tips. And it's funny because my psychic calls me up a couple of days later and says, who's Anthony? And I said, that's my cousin. She goes, he wanted me to give you a message. And I said, okay. He says, he's telling me to tell you to go fuck yourself. And I go, and the reason he said that, because I asked him if he was in a good place with Billy, if that was a good, and he got mad at me for saying that, asking that question. So I was like, okay. But anyway, getting back to that night, Anthony had this beautiful black Trans Am, So again, I got to see if this is really Anthony. And I says, you remember, that beautiful Riviera you had, table didn't tip. So I said, oh, that's right, it wasn't a Riviera, it was a Challenger, table didn't tip. I said, oh, that's right. It was a Trans Am. Table tipped. Okay, now Anthony leaves. And my cousin John comes in. Okay, this is my cousin John. Now, my cousin John and my cousin Joe had a very, very rough relationship. They're brothers, and they fought over everything, and they just fought over everything. And in the end, John was out of his mind. Okay, so John comes in, and I go, "Is this John?" He says, "Yeah." Now, my cousin John was like a brother to me. He taught me how to tie my shoes when I was 5 years old. He taught me how to drive a stick shift when I was like 14. So, so again, I'm testing him. I said, "This is really John. Do you remember when you taught me how to tie my shoe when I was 7? Table doesn't tip." I said, "Oh, it was 6. The table doesn't tip." And I go, "Oh, that's right. It was 5, and the table tips." And then I said, "Do you remember when you taught me how to drive the stick shift on that pickup truck? I think it was a GMC. Table doesn't tip." So I said, "Oh, that's right. It was a Ford. Table doesn't." "Oh no, it was an International. Table tip." How many people know about an International trucks? You know what I mean? It's so old. So then apparently one of my other cousins come in. Jim says, "Okay, there's a woman's energy here now, and but she passed away because of diabetes." So I knew right away who it was. And then that my cousin Yvonne came through, and I asked her, because my cousin Leonora moved into her condo. And I said, "Are you in a good place?" And she said, "Yeah." I said, "Are you with your brothers who have passed?" And she said, "Yeah," with her mother. And I said, "Are you happy what Lee did to your house?" Because my cousin Lee redid the whole place, and she was very happy with the way the place looks now, And I was like, "Okay." And she had a message for me to give to Lee, just like John had a message for me to give to my cousin Joe, you know what I mean? So I said, "Okay, I'll pass these messages along." Then the table starts going like this again, and Jim says, "Okay, there are 2 people coming through, 2 people fighting, because I feel the man's energy and I feel the woman's energy." He goes, "This may be your parents out." So eventually the woman's energy wins out, right? And I've had at least 3 psychics, Katie included, tell me my mother's with me all the time. She's like my guardian angel. Okay. So I says, "This mom." Table comes over and gives me a hug. Okay. Are you with me all the time?" Table tips. Okay. And then I started asking her personal questions, and the table's going back and forth. Okay. Then my mother leaves, and my father comes through and says, "Okay, this is my father." And he says, "Yeah." And I says, "My father loves his Mustang. He had a 65 green Mustang, was his pride and joy." So I go, "Do you remember the 69 Mustang?" And it doesn't move. And I go, "Oh, that's right. It was 65, and the table tips." And then I said, "Yeah." I said, "It was at Midnight Blue, right?" The table doesn't tip, because my father's Mustang was forest green. My father always said it's forest green, not green, forest green. So then I say, "Oh, that's right. The Mustang was forest green, and the table tipped." So when we got around to my father, who liked to dance, big band. He was a big band guy, liked the big band music. And so we pulled all the furniture out of the way. We rolled up the rug. And this particular table is not a dancing table. This table was the one that just tipped. So when my father, you got 4 people, grown adults, standing around a table with their hands on the table, and the table starts dancing around the room. Like I used to tell my father, always used to say he used to like to cut a rug. That was his thing, Yep. And so we were dancing around, nice. And then I said, "Okay, Pop, but what was your favorite kind of dancing?" Which was, my father loved to tango, and all of a sudden the table starts doing twirls all around the room, or going to the right, then turning around and going to the left. It felt like you were actually dancing with a woman, and then you're twirling her, you know what I mean? It was crazy. And that was, that was the end of that night, because Jim was saying, "Al, you got a line of people out the door waiting to talk to you," but it was getting late and everybody was tired. And I said, "You know what? I'll come back again next year, and we'll pick up where we left off with the rest of the family that didn't get a chance to talk," and that was it. But it was just an amazing night, because when you hear stories like this, like Jim and his partner Dave, they have a podcast too called Keystone State, because they're from Pennsylvania, and they always talk about table tipping, and I'm like, what the hell is table tipping, you know? And he says, I'll send you a video. And then they show, you're watching the video with all these people around it, and the table's tipping this way. And of course, everybody's cynical, right? Me being from New York, I'm the biggest cynical person in the world. And I'm like, I don't know about that, but when you're doing it and you're asking the questions in your mind and the table is hearing your questions and answering you, it's an amazing experience. And Brian went there after I went there, and he slept in the same room we slept in, but he didn't have the experience that we had in it. And I told him, whatever you do, don't leave that place without doing the table tipping, I said, you got to do the table tipping. And he did. And I believe, don't quote me on this, but I believe his wife's mom came through to her, and I think his father came through to him. You know what I mean?
Wow.
But that's that's for him to talk about, not me. But so since I've mentioned Brian, I should also mention that over the last year, we've filmed 3 different UFO documentaries.
You guys have been busy.
Yeah, we've been busy. Yeah, well, it's just crazy. People are calling me up, and and Brian's like, just say yes to everything, and so people were calling me up. And the first one we did was called Alien Invasion of the Hudson Valley. And the stars of the show were Ben Hansen and Mark D'Antonio and Melissa Tittle. And those were the 3 stars. And we went out and we got them, most of the people that they interviewed. They asked us to help them out, and we got them. We got them most of their interviews, and then they wanted to go to a certain location, but they couldn't get permission to go there, so they were going to go to a plan B, which would have been horrible. And I said, no, I know another location that's much better than that, and let's go to this location. And then they scouted out the location I told them to go to, and we had an amazing evidence that night. I mean, even in the show, when they do the show, when I actually watched the show, they edited out at least 2 different crafts that came in. We got like 4 different crafts that come in.
Wow.
We got like a mothership to come in, and it looked like a big star in the sky. And then 2 tiny crafts came out of that. One went around the tree, and everybody's saying it's a bird, but believe me, it's not a bird, because this thing came right down to see what we were doing, and then went right back up. And then another one came out, and one went behind the tree line and then came up, and then another one came out from behind the tree line, and that one attached to the first one that came out. But there was another one that came out to the tree line to our left, but for some reason they edited out the other stuff. They only put in 3 and not 5, but they were blown away. I mean, when you see Ben Hansen, right, filming these stuff coming down, and he's giddy like a schoolgirl,
Yeah.
This is a guy that's been in the business a long time and seen a lot of things, and he was like, he couldn't believe that, we told him we were going to bring him in, and we did, and he just couldn't believe it. He was like, man, you guys don't fool around, I said, I told you this location was much better than the other location. And then we did another one for 2 independent filmmakers. One is called, they're going to premiere it, I think, next month at the Tribeca Film Festival in Manhattan, down in Lower Manhattan. And I think that one is called Star Children of Pine Bush.
Yes.
They wanted to premiere it at Pine Bush when we did our presentation, but it was too complicated with MUFON being there, and we were representing the New York State UFO Project, and they, I guess MUFON put the kibosh on it. I mean, I don't know. It seemed like we had a lot of issues with MUFON that day, and
it's too bad.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think they wanted to be upstaged by a little tiny local UFO group. You know what I mean? So then we were going to do a presentation at the Pine Bush Museum, and they were gonna, after our presentation, they were gonna show the film, and then that got the kibosh put on it, and they said, listen, can we reschedule for November? And I was like, you know what? At this point, let me talk to Brian because I'm kind of disgusted that we keep getting knocked out of the box, and I don't even know if I want to go there anymore. So I talked to the producer of the film, and I said, listen, you're still more than welcome to come and premiere it tonight. You know, if we talk, but we don't know what we're doing. If you want to talk to these people and maybe do a separate premiere, and we'll just come there for the premiere. This way you could do the Q&A with the audience.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, you know what, Al, they've had a lot of issues too, you know, I think they're kind of disgusted with Pine Bush and the museum. And they're like, I think we're just going to premiere it at the film festival, the Tribeca Film Festival in Manhattan. I was like, whatever you want to do. And then we did another one this summer for another independent film company. Again, they're all UFO films for some reason. They're all documentaries, all 2-hour documentaries. And we filmed with them at a private location in Westchester that I picked out because the one they picked out was no good. And so we picked out a location, we filmed there, and they're still filming. You know, they're a long ways away from putting everything together and editing and getting it out. So we don't know when and where that's going to come out at this point. But we did invite them back to film us do a CE5. Because we were supposed to do a CE5 at Pine Bush like we did 2 years ago when we brought a craft in. But again, somebody put the kibosh on it. I'm not saying it was MUFON, but, you know, that's just one man's opinion. And so, because MUFON, listen to this cracked me up. MUFON, and I don't know if you're a MUFON member or not, but I'm just saying, MUFON has a radar that they use, right? This is what they said. We're not going to do the CE5 because we have a radar that we're going to shoot into the sky, and whatever that'll identify any planes or satellites or anything like that, and anything else we see in the sky that we can't identify, we're going to call it a UFO. And I looked at them and I kind of scratched my head and I was like, okay, if that's what you're calling valid evidence, that's fine for you guys, but that's not good enough for me. I said, when we did our CE5, we actually brought a craft in, you know, a ship that did acrobatic maneuvers for us in the sky, you know. So, you know, so they put the kibosh on that, but we're going to do it. We're going to do another CE5. We're just not going to do it at Pine Bush. We got another location picked out, and we're going to call these filmmakers up in it because they really want to film us doing the CE5, you know. So we're gonna have them come back probably within a couple of weeks or so, and before it gets too cold, and do a CE5. Maybe we'll promote it, and we'll get a lot of people to show up as well, you know, because what we did, what I came up with as a plan B to the CE5, because we got knocked out of the box, what I did is when Brian and I got up at Pine Bush to do our presentation in front of the audience, I did two things different than anybody else did that day. I did a Q&A with the audience. None of the other speakers did that. You know, they just said what they had to say and left. We did a Q&A, and then after the Q&A was over, before our time was up, because we were the last guys, we probably could have talked as long as we wanted, you know, and we both could talk. But
I hadn't noticed.
No, but so what I did was I said, listen, and I was telling everybody during the day at the fair that was stopping by our booths and getting our cards and buying shirts and everything, that night at the main center where they're all the paranormal people, where the symposium where all the celebrities were going to talk that night, right next door to them is a patio with tables and chairs and everything. And I said, we're going to do an open meeting that night. So anybody that wants to come by and sit down and hear, because we didn't talk about our personal experiences when we did the presentation. We talked about all the filming that we did, you know, for the different shows. Because if you want to come by tonight and you want to hear us and our personal stories, we're going to tell them. And if you have anything you wanted to talk about, your personal experiences, everybody would love to hear about it, you know. And then at that night, we went back to the place, and, you know, about maybe 2,000 people showed up, something like that. 25 people showed up, and we did an open meeting. You know, it wasn't going to cost anybody anything, and they heard our stories, and they told their stories, and it worked out great. You know, it was a perfect plan B. So, it just kind of worked out good for us, and we weren't sure if we were going to rub anybody the wrong way by doing that. And so I told Brian we'll probably never get invited back ever again for this. But you know what? They were charging like $50 a head to go see the celebrities, you know. And we were right outside the side door at the patio. We weren't charging anything, you know. So it was a nice crowd. Let's put it that way.
Easier to ask for forgiveness and permission, right?
Yeah, you know what? Excuse me, but at that point, I was so frustrated with all the obstacles that we ran across because for the last 7 years, we were on the organizing board. You know, the board was the organizer. We were part of the board, and we got knocked out of that. And we were the ones who set up the Paranormal Center. And I was the one who gave the organizer all the names of all the paranormal groups to invite up to do presentations and stuff. And then MUFON got involved, and the paranormal side of the fair went away.
That's too bad.
And to me, it was like I'm reading material. I'm reading a lot of MUFON material lately, and now they're trying to incorporate the paranormal with the UFOs. Okay. So if that's the case, you know, like everything is connected, right? If that's the case, then why get rid of the Paranormal Center? Or, you know, so I don't understand it, but I said, you know what? It's not my gig. I'm just an invited guest, so we left it at that. And but all in all, the fair was a beautiful day. They had like 10,000 people there.
Wow.
And Brian sold a lot of shirts. He had all kinds of shirts from all of our groups, and people were just going crazy for him. And we had a nice crowd under the tent too. You know, a solid 50 to 75 people hung around for us. And, you know, we're nobodies, you know, but they hung around for us to hear our stories, and we had a good crowd. And we, you know, of course, you always get that one guy in the crowd who's got to be like the debunker, right?
Yep.
And this is a great story. He starts saying, well, if these ships are coming from 100 light years away, how are they getting here? Because there's nothing faster than the speed of light. And
That
Brian
we
goes,
know
well,
of.
you're wrong. He goes, thought is faster than the speed of light. So the guy goes, oh, you're being cute. So they start going back and forth, right? And the guy says, well, you know, and I'm trying to explain to the guy, you're looking at it in a 21st century mindset, you know, speed of light and all this and that. And that says, you know, physics as we know it doesn't apply to them. And, you know, maybe the speed of light doesn't apply. There's something faster than that too. But, you know, I'm trying to explain to the guy, they're probably opening up portals and they're coming through that way, you know. So Brian goes, listen, if you want me to break down the formula for you, get me a goddamn blackboard and I'll break it down for you. And I'm laughing hysterical. I'm like, oh no, you know.
Just picture him saying that.
I mean, it was great. And you know, after Brian said that to the guy kind of stepped back, and he actually hung around afterwards and came up to us after and actually had a civil conversation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was so funny. I thought, oh, I can't believe he just said this to that guy. You know, in front of 75 people. You know, get me a blackboard. I'll do the formula. Yeah. But so that's what we've been doing, and we're very, very busy. And I've done 100 investigations between last time I was on and now, and we can't even touch on them because that's like, you know, they're 8 hours worth of shows. But you know, whenever you're ready, you ask me, you invite me back on, and
anytime
I can send you photographs of all the stuff we captured and all the stuff I've done separately on my own, and I mean, amazing stuff as far as paranormal goes. It's just crazy. But lately we've been doing a lot of Bigfoot stuff. Okay.
Before we get to the Bigfoot stuff, can you just explain to the listeners who might not know what a CE5 is?
Oh, sure. A CE5 is called the Close Encounter of the Fifth Kind, and that's when you get a group of individuals who all focus on the same thought at the same time. And the thought is, we want to make contact with you. Could you come down and show yourself? And usually there's a meditation that goes along with it to try to calm everybody's thought process down. Brian does his own thing. I think he uses some kind of beats some kind of beats. I don't know what it's called. And some people like to use Dr. Greer's meditation thing. Me personally, I go with Native American music. It seems to calm me down and bring me to where my mind has got to be. So, but Brian usually leads that into the meditation, and then everybody's thought is focused on. You get all these like-minded people's thought all focused on one thing, and it's like it's really like a beacon. It goes up into the sky, and these crafts that are there, they hear it, they see it. I don't know, but they come down and they show themselves, And we've done this a bunch of times, and I think every time we've done it, we've brought something in, Like there was one time we were doing it with a group of people, and Brian said, "Take a picture over my shoulder." We were by the Hudson River, right? We want that water, that conductor, that. And Brian said, "Take a picture over my right shoulder. I believe there's something there." Now I'm looking at the sky. There's nothing in the sky. I snap a picture with my incredible little Sony camera. I'll pull it back up, and sure as shit, there's a craft in the sky in the photograph. And
Wow.
he's done that. He hasn't only done it once. He's done it like 2 or 3 times where he'll tell me, "Take a picture over this shoulder." And, you look up in the sky, you don't see anything, but you take the photographs and something appears in it, and it's not a bug or a bird or a dust, I mean, you make it bigger, and you can actually see like an energy field around this craft, So, we've been very successful with it. And I don't know if it's just him, me, a combination of both of us, or the people that actually show up for this, and everybody wants to make contact, So that's what a CE5 is. I think Brian doesn't like to use the terminology CE5. He calls it, what does he call it? Intelligent, interactive encounter. AIE, something like that. AIE, and something to that effect. I think those are the initials he breaks it down to, and EIA or something like that. And that's what he calls it. Not to call it a CE5, but because we don't want to get. He thinks we're going to get sued if we use CE5, so he broke it down to a different initial variants. But anyway, we have a lot of fun with that, and we have a lot of success with that, and. We take it one step at a time, because it's so hard to really investigate UFO sightings, because by the time you hear about it and you get there, it's gone. Unless it's landed and left some kind of residue, radiation on the ground, or some kind of fluid for you to find and bag, or it's so hard to investigate them unless you're there. But when you do these things, you see fives, and they come down. And everybody sees this, and then you ask it to do maneuvers, and it does. I mean, the oohs and ahs you get from people is mind blowing, because people just they can't believe what they're seeing with their own 2 eyes, and it's very exciting, Lucky, knock on wood, lucky for us, we've never lost any time doing it. So until we don't lose, So as long as we don't lose any time or people, we're going to continue to do it. So that's the CE5.
Awesome. Thanks.
Yeah. And so now, recently, I've one of my neighbors is a logger. He's in the logging industry, and so he goes out and he buys big lots of land all over the East Coast, and a lot up here around where I live. And so whenever he does, we'll take a Saturday, we'll go out and we'll go shooting on the property, you know what I mean, and have some fun shooting. But he always he'll call me up and he'll say, I was cutting down trees, I was marking trees for my guys to cut, and I'm getting tree knocks, I'm hearing whoops and this, that, and the other thing. So whenever he hears anything like that, or he sees a tree structure, he calls me immediately and he says, "Al, you got to come up here, you got to take pictures." And I usually go up with him the following Saturday, and they'll show me the structure. And sometimes the structures aren't there anymore, like they break them down for some reason. They take them down, But I've got a lot of photos. We got about 7 different sites now that we're working on. And the
pictures that you sent me would be, site 5, site 6, it's like, good grief, how many sites are there?
Yeah, and I'm sending you pictures. I'm sending you pictures of footprints and all kinds of stuff and tree structures. And well, we're at one of the sites. Let me think of what it was. 1, 2, 3. Site 4, I think it is, off the top of my head. I actually have a gifting site going. Okay, and it's the craziest thing. One day, I heard some screams coming out of the woods. Okay, I was up there shooting, and I heard some screams come out of the woods, and I was like, okay, somebody is not happy that I'm up here shooting, and so I left, and I came back the next day, and where the target was a quartz crystal stone. So I was like, oh, this is interesting. I know that they gift quartz crystal stones. It's one of their favorite stones to use. I don't know if they use it for energy or what, but so the next time I went up, next to the quartz crystal stone, which is a path. There's a path there, which next to the quartz crystal stone, I put a little yellow toy, like a child's toy, right? And I left, came back the next day, and the toy was gone, and now there was a log in the road, like a log on the path, like not. So I went up the path, even though the log was there, I guess telling me don't. And I found a footprint, and I don't know if it's the ball of the foot running up the hill and the dirt moved, or the back of the heel of the foot as it came down and the dirt moved. But I took a picture of that, and so we started this crazy thing. So I put this. So I take the stone, I leave the yellow thing, I come back. The yellow thing is gone. I come back with a yellow golf ball. I put a yellow golf ball on the log. I come back the next day. There's 2 yellow golf balls. So I said, this is interesting. So then I started playing with string. I put a blue string on a tree, and I come back, and the next day the string is tied in knots. So I said, I reached out to a couple of researchers that I know in the Bigfoot field, some new guys, some old guys who I always pick their brains. You always have to have that senior guy whose brain you can pick, and they tell me, yeah, and then they're telling me, yeah, they'll tie strings and knots. And a friend of mine who's a Bigfoot researcher in Connecticut, Berkshire Mountain Bigfoot, his name is Chris Reinhardt, great guy, you should have him on one day. He does a show too, and he sent me a picture. He goes, I did the same thing what you did with the string, and they did the same thing to mine. They tied knots in it, okay? So I was putting all these different color strings up, and they were doing all kinds of different things with the strings. And then I put an orange golf ball down, I put an orange golf ball, and I came back the next day, and there was another orange ball there. So I had this epiphany. I was like, wait a minute, they could see in color. Always thought that they could see in IR. They see the IR lights from the trail cams and all that stuff. I'm positive that they can see in IR. They had night vision, but I thought they were like a dog. They seen in black and white.
Yeah.
But I put up a yellow string. They put something else yellow. I put up an orange string. They put something else orange. I put up a blue string. I swear to God, I went through like 10 different color strings, and every time I put a different color, they would put something else in return, the same color. Which just blew my mind. And so then we have.
I wonder where they're getting all these.
Huh?
I wonder where they're getting all of these. Just from other gifting sites, maybe?
We're in the middle of the woods.
Yeah, and it's your friend's property, right?
Yeah, it's my friend's property. Yeah. And I mean, I'm sure if you went 100 acres in any direction, you'll probably come across somebody's house. And maybe they're getting them in these people's yards. People have kids. They're finding toys. Yeah. So we're doing all this gifting, and then one day there was a fish, a half-eaten fish. Like someone grabbed the fish, took a bite, and put it on the log like a gift for me.
Sharing.
I'm like, no, thank you. I'm not taking the fish. Thank you very much. I left the fish there, and then I went back the following day, and there was a couple of bones from like a deer bone, like a legs from a deer.
I remember the picture you sent me. Yeah.
It still had the membrane on it. And I was like, I'm not taking any of these deer bones home either. My wife would kill me if I came home with, deer bones. And I left them. And then the next time I went, there was a deer skull with antlers and everything. Again, it still had the membrane on it. And I was like, holy crap. I'm reaching out to all these people. Is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? I don't know, because I don't usually gift. And if I gift, it's never food. I never gift food. I'll gift whistles, I'll gift marbles, stuff like that. But I never gift food. I don't want them to associate me with food. Toys are one thing, but food is totally out of it. And then another guy said, no. Everybody's telling me no, that they're just being friendly. That's a gesture of friendship, that skull. So I took the skull and I gave it to a good friend of mine who's a hunter, and he has all kinds of skulls and everything from all kinds of animals. He loved it. He wanted it, so I gave it to him, And so I didn't want to keep offending them by not taking their gifts. Then I go back one day, and there's a turtle shell. Just a regular turtle shell, no turtle. I'm like, okay, that's interesting, And I don't remember what I left. I always leave something, whether it be, a piece of string, a marble, a little ribbon, something like that. I always leave a little something. I don't want to leave empty-handed. And I always leave something. Then I went back the following day, and the turtle shell is upside down, like on its back, like almost like a bowl. And there's 2 dead, fresh moles in the bowl.
Oh, wow.
If you look at the picture of the turtle shells I sent you, there's a picture of just the shell, then there's a picture of the upside down. And it has, if you make it bigger, you'll see 2 moles inside of it.
I'm looking at it now.
You'll see 2 moles inside.
Oh, wow.
You see them?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's 2 black moles, like they were offering me food. So one day, I don't know what it was, something said to me, I should just start taking pictures all around this area, just to see if I get anything in photographs. So I just started taking pictures all the way around, and this is a big area, big mountain and everything else. And I took close-ups, and I took far-away shots, and I didn't see anything in any of them. Sent them to Brian, and of course Brian's Mr. Eagle Eye. He sends it back. You got a picture of a Bigfoot on top of the hill, and you'll see it in the pictures I sent you. I got a blue circle around it. One is a close-up and one is a far-away shot, just to show you how far away it was, the distance. And I didn't see it up there. I was just taking random photos of the mountain,
Yeah.
But Brian seen it, and Brian circled it and sent it to me. He says, you got something, you have a big boy watching you from up on top of the hill, So that was very interesting. And then at one point, they took the turtle shell. I guess they took the moles, and they must have ate them because I didn't take them. They took the turtle shell, and they flipped it back over the right way, and they stuck 4 feathers in the back.
Yeah.
I sent you those photographs too. And again, I'm calling people all over the United States, in Oregon and Washington, up in Connecticut, down in Florida, and I'm like, have this ever? And everybody's telling me this is something they do. They love gifting feathers for some reason. Now, I don't know what kind of feathers they were. I don't know if they were hawk feathers or geese feathers or duck feathers or what.
There's black feathers, so I don't know.
No, they're brown feathers, I think they were.
Okay.
And they were lined up with 4. I don't know what actually, if there's a special thing with 4 or just that would happen to be the amount of feathers they took. But I left them there. I took pictures of it. I take pictures of everything. And then I came across what looked like to me a grave site. Tons of little rocks in a row with this giant megalithic stone at the head of it, and it looks like a headstone. And I took 2 pictures of it, one from facing it and one from behind it, because to me, there's no reason for this to be in the middle of the woods. There are no cemeteries like settler cemeteries in the area, you know what I mean? Because every now and then you'll come across them in the woods. Nothing like that, but there's these giant, it looks like a burial site to me, and I sent you those photographs as well.
I'm looking at it now, yeah.
And
and folks, all these photos will be in the YouTube video as well, so you'll be able to see all these photos So just it'll be on the YouTube video.
Yeah, and and it's just one day, I seen it out of the corner of my eye, and I was like, "What's that?" And I went over and I looked at it, and I was like, I wonder if this is like a sacred site for them, and they bury their dead there, or if this one, because there's only one burial there, if this was like a clan leader, you know what I mean, a father figure, and maybe that's a reason why there always seems to be creatures in that area. Maybe they're keeping an eye on it. You know what I mean? I don't know. Honestly, I don't know if that's the case, but we plan on going back there. I was looking at tents today, and we're gonna get a tent that sleeps 4 people. Okay, me and Brian are big boys. We need a big tent, and I'm gonna get one of those privacy tents for our bathroom, and we're gonna go back to these locations and before it gets too cold, and see what happens during the course of the night. Like I said, I'm doing a lot of research now with natural I can't think of the word now. The natural like radiations of the earth, you know what I mean, and the electromagnetic energy. And I'm doing all kinds of stuff like that. And as a matter of fact, just bought this brand new camera that shoots in ultrasound. Now,
Really?
yeah, they only make microphones that'll go down to, I think, 10 megahertz or something like that, 10 hertz, or 16 hertz, because anything under 20 is ultrasound, okay?
Infrasound or ultrasound?
Infrasound, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
infrasound. Anything under 20 hertz is infrasound,
Yeah.
right? And I had to buy a special microphone to record in infrasound, because infrasound is dangerous to us. It can kill us,
Yep.
And mine only goes down to 16, but they say anything below 10 is dangerous to the human, to our condition, you know what I mean? It can mess up our organs, our blood vessels, or whatever. So they'll only sell ones that go down to 16. So you're getting infrasound, but you're getting at it like its highest levels, you know what I mean? But still, I want to.
So these are microphones?
Yes. So I want to record it when we go out and we do this, just to see if we pick up anything that we're not hearing with our ears, and play it back on a little battery operated amplifier,
Yeah.
and see if we hear anything, so yeah, that's my new thing. It's all like environmental readings. I've been doing this thing with environmental readings, and I got like 10 different instruments that read different environmental areas, and it's funny how things change when these creatures are in the area. Different energies, different frequencies, everything seems to change. And of course, we enhance that too with our techniques that we use to put frequency and vibration out in the elements, so yes, we're changing it to an effect when we do it, but we're monitoring the change as we do it, so we know if it changes 10 degrees, it's because of us, and then we stop doing it, and when these creatures come in, it changes again. It's crazy. I don't want to get into it because it's so complicated and there's so many different meters that I'm working with right now. We haven't really put all the data together yet and dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's, but it's very interesting, and it's amazing how the environment changes when these creatures come into the area, so
that infrasound microphone really interests me.
Yeah, I was trying to get something like at 10, at least 10, but they're like, no, you can't order one. That's, only the military's allowed to have those, we make ones for the general public that go down to 16. Like, okay, I'll take 16 then,
Because
if that's all I can get,
as you and I know, I think it was back in the 40s and 50s, some governments were using infrasound as weapons. You don't hear it, but you sure do feel it.
Oh yeah, when I remember, God, must be 15 years ago, my son and I used to watch a show. It's called Future Weapons or something to that effect, and they showed the military using these big, like, tank-like trucks with these big satellite, it looked like a satellite dish, like a parabolic mic dish.
Yep.
On these trucks, and they have like 100 soldiers or the guinea pigs, right? That's supposed to be the other army. And then this truck rolls in, and it hits them with this infrasound, and these guys all just drop like bowling pins. No fighting, no nothing, because it's making their organs like bubble, their blood is bubbling, and the fluids, and I mean, people are getting sick, throwing up. There's
probably bleeding from every orifice.
Yes. I was just getting it. It was blood bleeding out of their eyes and nose and ears, and they didn't even have the thing turned up, high, because this was just like a military. They were just showing how these weapons, these new sound weapons and energy weapons affect us, and I was like, I looked at my son and I turned to him and I said, you see these weapons here, these are all weapons. I said, and my son thinks I'm crazy, right? And I said, these laser beams, these sound weapons, these energy weapons, they're all created to defend us against alien races. I told him, I said, there's no doubt in my mind that they got these technologies from different alien races to use on different alien races, one against the other. Maybe the light weapons against this race, sound weapons against that race, and vice versa. I said, because we've been killing each other with bullets for hundreds of years. They work just fine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We don't need this kind of weaponry to use against us. We're easy, And he just looked at me and was like, Dad, you've drinking the Kool-Aid, I was like, why else? Think about it logically. Why else would they need these kind of energy weapons, right? And that's just one man's opinion. But anyway, so I hope we covered everything, all the photographs I sent you. Like I said, I didn't want to overwhelm you with everything, because I got 2 years of investigation since the last time we talked, and I've done so many paranormal investigations, so much stuff. It's just like thousands and thousands of photographs, and I'm the worst when it comes to going through evidence. You know what I mean? I just like to do the investigation. I really don't like to do
Most
the
people
tedious
do.
part and look through pictures or listen to audio and stuff like that. So I mean, I'm the worst at it, but every now and then I force myself to do something, and I find stuff like with the the Gettysburg stuff, when I found those two soldiers out in the night. That was pretty cool and stuff like that.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right, Kat. I think we touched on everything.
I think so.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It's good seeing you.
It's always
again.
fun having you on.
Been a long time,
Yes.
And I got a ton of other stuff. If you ever want to have me back, that I could send you and
I do.
talk about. Okay.
Anytime.
Okay. Well, you're the boss. You have to invite me. I can't invite myself. You know what I mean?
Actually, yes, you can. There's a select few that I would say invite yourself. That's okay. You're one of them. So you're like family.
Thank
I
you
mean,
very
you
much.
and Brian, And,
I'm glad I made that list.
oh yeah, of course. What would you like to tell the listeners where they can find you?
Yeah, sure. You can find us at the Bronxville Paranormal Society on Facebook, the New York State UFO Project on Facebook, the New York State Sasquatch Organization, again, that's on Facebook, and the New York State Dogman Project. We used to be affiliated with the North American Dogman Project, but we're kind of branching off and doing our own thing, and so we changed the name to the New York State Dogman Project, and But you can find us on Facebook, or Brian's got us set up on every social media platform there is. I do most of my stuff on Facebook. I just don't have the patience to jump all over the world to talk to people and find stuff. So if you want to reach me, you can reach me on Facebook as well. And that's it.
And Uncle Brian's usually banned from Facebook anyways.
As a matter of fact, he's banned
Facebook
at
jail.
the moment. And I had to promote he's doing a radio interview this week, I think. And he sent me the banner today, and he's like, "Can you promote this for me? I'm still suspended for like another 2 weeks." And I was like, "Yeah, just send it to me, and I'll
troublemaker.
I'll promote it." He says I'm like the best promoter there is. I send stuff everywhere, So I was like, "Yeah, send it to me." So whenever he can't do it because he's being banned, he sends it to me, and I post it for him. So you got it this morning, I think, right?
Yes, I did.
One with
Yep.
the collider, yeah.
Yep, that's tonight, I think, at 8:30.
Oh, it's tonight. It's tonight.
I think so,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
I didn't even realize what night it was. Okay, he just said promoted, so I promoted it.
I could be wrong. I'd have to take a look at it again. So.
Yeah, I didn't look at the date. I didn't look at anything. I copied the link, and I just started promoting the hell out of it and sharing it. This way, people could go and listen to it, and I'm sure it's going to be interesting because Brian is, he's one of those guys who's got like photographic memory. He can read something and remember it word for word 25 years later. I can't remember what I read 25 seconds after I closed the book.
Same here, brother.
I mean? But I mean, he's just a sponge. He's amazing. Yeah, it should be an interesting interview tonight with him as well. Yeah.
That is, yeah.
Thank you again, Kat, for inviting me on.
Thank you so much,
It's
Al.
always a pleasure. I love you to death. You know
Love
that.
you too.
And,
yes.
And the last few interviews you've done that I've listened to, I actually had a chance to listen to, I thought were both fabulous. So,
Thank you.
Keep rocking.
I will. And thanks for your support, too.
Oh, no problem, Ben, I was there in the beginning, when you were just a news
I
girl
know.
on Trev's show.
I
right?
know. Oh,
You
my
did
gosh.
the strange news. Remember that?
Yes, and I was so nervous doing that.
that was, and I
funny.
used to send you stuff that I would find that was strange.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. Yeah, because
Yeah,
I
like,
find
that was
it
great.
can be difficult sometimes trying to find strange news like that. You really got to do a
absolutely.
lot of digging.
Yeah, no, you have to do a lot of research to find just like a 10-second tidbit of a material. It could take you a week to find.
Yep.
Yeah, that's why I said when I came across stuff like that, I just sent it to you because I know how difficult it is to find that kind of stuff. But man, that was a long time ago. How many years ago was that?
Oh, was I in Alberta or was I still in Ontario? I don't remember. At least
remember.
5 years. At least that.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
It's a long time ago. Wow.
Been a while.
Good times.
Okay, thanks again, Al.
Thank you, Kat.
You take
It's
care.
My pleasure. Ciao.
Ciao.
Well, we've made it to the end of another episode. Thanks so much for listening. Until next time, take care of each other. And if you'd like to be on the show or have questions and comments, just drop me an email, paranormalheart13@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you.
Paranormal Heart would like to extend a special thank you to Purple Planet